Jameis Winston did an interview a couple of days ago, and he said that his goal, his drive is to be the starting quarterback of a Super Bowl winning team. And he's eyeing another starting quarterback job. And bold prediction for free agency, Jameis Winston is going to get another opportunity to be QB1 again in this league. There are so many teams right now that are desperate at quarterback. And if you can't get Justin Fields and you can't get any of the top 3 QBs in this upcoming draft, Jameis Winston is probably the next best option for you. Baker Mayfield probably isn't going to hit free agency, and neither is Kirk Cousins. Other than those two, you have nothing but Russell Wilson, and who else? And Russell Wilson at this point, I think he's damaged goods. Jameis Winston, people seem to forget, the last time he was a starting quarterback in 2021 for New Orleans, Sean Payton had this dude playing the best, most efficient football of his career. He was leading the NFL in touchdown interception ratio, outplayed Aaron Rodgers week 1 of that season, and had the New Orleans Saints in first place in the NFC South until he got injured against Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston has shown the ability to be a really solid starting quarterback in this league. And even when he is, being Jameis Winston and he's having all these interceptions and turnovers, he still is a quarterback that is going to be able to move the football downfield for you. There are so many quarterbacks that people have picked up in free agency in the past that people say are just good enough, like Jimmy Garoppolo and Marcus Mariota. Those guys, if they bottom out, your offense is going to be shitty. But if Jameis Winston bottoms out, at worst, your offense is still going to be serviceable. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of turnovers, but you're still going to be able to put up 20 points a game. You're still going to have a really good passing attack because Jameis Winston is probably the most aggressive quarterback that the NFL has ever seen. If you're the Denver Broncos, the Atlanta Falcons, or you're a team that's looking for a bridge quarterback, you want to bring in Jameis Winston for 1-2 seasons while you allow a young quarterback that you draft this year to develop behind them, that would be a pretty good option. Hell, the Denver Broncos, if you need a starting quarterback that can just help you survive this year, getting Jameis Winston makes the most sense. You aren't really in a situation where you have a lot of money to spend on improving the quarterback position. You're not in an ideal situation to draft any of the highly ranked QBs in this year's draft other than Bo Nix and maybe Michael Penix. And even then, you should try to swing for Jaden Daniels or Drake May, but they're not going to be able to do that because they don't have enough assets to trade up in the draft. Therefore, any quarterback that they draft this year isn't going to be ready to go week 1. Jameis Winston would be a perfect, ideal vet for Sean Payton. Already has familiarity with the system, played his best football under Sean Payton his last year in New Orleans. And now, if Denver isn't a good spot, what about New England? Because New England is having some rumblings right now that they could either trade down from 3, they could take Marcus Mariota, or they could trade for Justin Fields. But if they go in a direction where they take a quarterback at 3, then of course you would like to bring in a veteran for that guy to sit and learn behind for the first couple of weeks. And then when he bottoms out, you put Jaden Daniels or somebody like that in. But Jameis Winston is the perfect quarterback for a team like New England that's having a transitional period right now. You missed on Mac Jones. You're looking for somebody who can just get you by. And that's what Jameis Winston can do. And even if you don't draft a younger quarterback, and let's say you want to roll with Jameis Winston for the season and trade down and get more assets for that pick, Jameis Winston is good enough to win you a few games. He's going to have a good amount of games that he loses because of his turnover issues, but there are a lot of games that Jameis Winston is going to have for you that he's going to give you 2 interceptions and maybe 3-4 touchdowns, which is good enough to win games in this league. Jameis Winston is going to be a starting quarterback this year. Don't be surprised when it happens. It's my bold prediction for this offseason. Jameis Winston has never been a terrible starting quarterback. Jameis Winston right now is better than a handful of low-end starters. You definitely are telling me that you're going to take Daniel Jones over Jameis Winston? You're taking Kenny Pickett over Jameis Winston? Come on, man. Jameis Winston deserves a starting quarterback job. And even if it isn't the Denver Broncos or the New England Patriots, the Falcons are going to need a quarterback. There's no reason why Jameis Winston shouldn't at least be competing for a starting job this offseason. I believe Jameis Winston is going to have a market out there, and most likely he's going to be QB1 for somebody's franchise next season.